Welcome to Bradford Cathedral on this special Sunday, known as Christ the King, or often referred to as Stir Up Sunday, based on the collect that we use. Stir up, we beseech thee, O Lord, the wills of thy faithful people, that they, plenteously bringing forth the fruit of good works, may of thee be plenteously rewarded, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Historically, this would be the day that families would gather together to make their Christmas puddings. So we're making a Christmas pudding, and I think I'm going to have some help with this one, but we'll find out about that in a minute. Here is our Christmas pudding, all ready to go. So what you will need for your Christmas pudding is 110 grams of shredded suet, 25 grams of candied peel, finely chopped, 25 grams of whole almonds chopped. You can have them with the skin on. I could only find flaked almonds, but just mush them up a bit and they'll be fine. 1 small cooking apple, cored and finely chopped. This one actually came from the Cathedral gardens. A grated zest of half a large orange. I really like orange, so I put just a little bit more in. Half a grated lemon. And then we come to the alcohol bit. Oh my goodness. So you put 2 tablespoons of rum, 75 ml of barley wine, and 75 ml of stout. This is a Yorkshire brew. It's brewed in Masham, so we're keeping it Yorkshire today. And that's in this jug here. You will also need 2 large eggs. Now here at the Cathedral, we're deeply committed to fair trade and organic and free range. And many of these ingredients you can source in that way. You will also need 50 grams of self-raising flour, sifted, 110 grams of white breadcrumbs. Now you can buy white breadcrumbs or you can make your own, and a little tip here is I let the bread slices sit out for a while to dry them before I make them into a crumbly mixture. You will also need 1 level teaspoon of ground mixed spice, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and you can see this is the little nutmeg that I ground earlier, a good pinch of ground cinnamon, 225 grams of soft brown sugar, 110 grams of sultanas. And this is a really good moment to mention that if you notice, these sultanas have come from Tradecraft and have the fair trade symbol. We're a fair trade cathedral, we're an eco cathedral, and actually buying fair trade is incredibly important to us. And here's the thing to always remember, it might cost a few pence more, but it will make the difference to a family's life the other side of the world, because they get a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. And that will allow them to buy medicines, to go to school, and to live a good life. You will also need 110 grams of raisins, and finally 275 grams of currants. Other things you will need, well, you're going to need 3 bowls, a big one for mixing, 1 for steaming, and this is to mix up the alcohol and the eggs. You will also need something to measure out your spices, a fork to do a little whisking, scissors for cutting out the parchment. You'll need a grater for your lemon and orange. You're going to need some tin foil when it comes to the steaming phase, and some parchment or greaseproof paper. Some string. Obviously you're going to need a pan for steaming, and last but not least you're going to need your wooden spoon for mixing your pudding. Now you've gathered all your ingredients together, it's time to make your Christmas pudding. So let's get started. So we begin by mixing in the suet. I'll pop some suet in there. We're going to put the breadcrumbs in here. Oh, doesn't want to come out, there we go. Nicely coming out now. And then we're going to put the self-raising flour in. There we go, that's all in. And then this wonderful sugar, we're going to pop that in as well. And now for some spices. We're going to start with 1/4 level teaspoon of this lovely freshly grated nutmeg. Then we're going to put a level teaspoon of the mixed spices. Oh, the aroma is just wonderful. So we're going to pop that in there. It's a little bit. Just slightly more. Struggling to get my spoon in there, but I think that'll be about right. And then finally, now Delia tells us we should put a good pinch of cinnamon, and I absolutely adore cinnamon, and I have quite big fingers, so mine's going to be a jolly good pinch. So there we go. Sprinkle that around, and now give it all your first bit of mixing. So I'm just going to mix that in gently there. Try not to flick the flour about the place. There we go. So just giving those dry ingredients a really nice mix in. There we go. So your mixture should look a little bit like this. So when you've mixed that nice and thoroughly, it's time to add some of your other ingredients. So we're going to start with these lovely sultanas. Then we're going to put the raisins in. These lovely currants. Get all those in there. Then we take our chopped apple. Pop that in there as well. And then just try and get all of those in. Here's our almonds. Pop those in there too. Here's our mixed peel. I quite like a little bit more than the recipe says, but I've stuck to the recipe for now. Here's our orange peel. Oh, smells absolutely gorgeous. And here's our lemon zest as well. Just try and get all of that in there. So we're going to just gently mix all of those dry ingredients together, being careful not to throw it about the counter worktop because it just makes a bit of a mess, and we don't want to lose any of these wonderful ingredients. So there we go. So when that's nice and thoroughly mixed, it's time to prepare the liquids to go in. Now it's time to get the liquid part of your recipe ready, and for that you're going to need a small bowl, a fork or a whisk. You're going to need the alcohol. Do you remember that was the barley wine, the stout and the rum? Start by pouring that into your bowl. And then you add your 2 large free-range eggs. So pop that all in together. And then we're going to give it a bit of a whisk, which is what I'm doing now. Whisking away here, waiting for those egg yolks to break. Oh, there we go. So it's now beginning to turn a slightly milky brown colour. Doesn't look too appetising, but when we put it in the Christmas pudding, it's going to work its magic. So I think that's nice and mixed now and ready to pour into our dry mixture. And now we're going to mix the two together. So we're going to take our interesting brew of alcohol and nicely scrambled up eggs. We're pouring it in. There we go. We'll pop that to one side so we don't get it in the way. And we're just going to keep on gently mixing this together. We're just gently mixing in all of that. And as we do so, it gives the chance for all the bread and the suet and the flour to soak up the mixture of liquid that we've put in there. So just giving it a really nice stir. And this is really the part where we begin to think about stirring our Christmas pudding. Now, traditionally families would get together, and you may well be getting together as a family, and everyone would have a go at stirring the pudding. And in a minute, I'm going to pass my spoon on because I think some of you out there may be getting ready to also stir your puddings. So I think some of you are going to have a go at doing this as well. So I'm just going to dab off my spoon there, give it a bit of a knock on the side, and well, it's over to you. Oh, thank you. So when you've all had a go at stirring your pudding, I think mine's about ready now, then you put your spoon to one side. So when you've all had a really good mix of your pudding, it's time to cover it. So you could use a kitchen towel, a clean one obviously, or I'm going to use a little piece of tin foil for now. Don't forget, when you take your tin foil off, you can recycle it. So I'm just going to pop that over there, and then we're going to put this mixture in the fridge and leave it, well, overnight. Now it's time to get our Christmas pudding out of the fridge. Now we have a little bit more preparation to do. Now it's time to get ready for steaming your pudding. You're going to need the bowl that you're going to use for steaming. It needs to be a nice, strong, sturdy bowl. This is a Pyrex and they're really good at coping with the heat. Some scissors, a pen or a pencil, string, tin foil, and of course greaseproof paper. So to begin with, you're going to cut out 2 discs to go on top of your Christmas pudding mixture. So I'm going to pop that to one side. And the easiest way to do this, turn your bowl upside down, use your pen or pencil, draw a circle around it. And then when you've done that, cut around it, but just a little bit on the inside, and then it'll fit nicely on top of your bowl. And just like Blue Peter, here are 2 I prepared earlier. Now you're ready to put your mixture in the bowl. So I'm just going to pop my scissors to one side, and here comes our Christmas pudding mixture. Now don't forget to recycle your tin foil. So we're going to put this mixture into this bowl. Now your mixture might be quite heavy, so I tend to hold it nice and firmly as I gently tip my mixture in, spooning a little bit at a time. So there we go. Just going to keep popping that in there, trying to get all this wonderful rich goodness inside. And oh my goodness, the smell coming from this is absolutely heavenly. So there we go. Now you'll notice that I didn't put in a little sixpence. We don't tend to do that in our family because, well, it has been known in the past for somebody to break a tooth on that, so we've stopped doing that tradition, but you can do that. If you do, wrap it in tin foil first. So there's our mixture. I'm just going to lightly spread it evenly so that you can see there. Don't push it down too much. You want to keep a little bit of lightness in there. Shake off my spoon again. And then we take the 2 pieces of greaseproof paper and we're going to pop those lightly on top, like so. Now I should have mentioned that you also grease your bowl first. I've actually found I've not needed to do that, but you can do that if you wish. So that's now lightly on top, and then you're going to take your tin foil. Now with your tin foil, you need to take off a fairly decent long amount. If you can see, about that much. Tear your tin foil off. Oh, this tin foil does not want to break. There we go. So I'm just going to do that, and then we're going to fold it and give it a little bit of a pleat. So I'm just going to do that this way, and this allows for expansion. So if you can see, I've just gently folded it in that way. And now I'm going to put that carefully over my bowl with the fold in the middle, as long as the bowl is thoroughly covered. Now taking your string, you're going to tie it down, and if you're very clever, sometimes I get it right first time and sometimes I don't, you're going to give a string handle as well. So here's your string. One year I made the mistake, I could only find coloured string. Well, the water did go a funny colour, so I do recommend you find string that is plain in colour. So there we go. So I'm just going to carefully, it slips off very easily. So I'm just going to carefully wrap this around. Sometimes it's good if you've got someone to help you, but because of COVID, we're not doing that at the moment. So we're trying to do these things by ourselves. So it's a little fiddly, so you have to be patient. And obviously you can reward yourself by finishing off the little bottle of stout that you opened earlier if you wish. I'm just going to wrap that round. Oh, there we go, it's working now. Gently tightening it as we go. I'm going to do it 2 or 3 times, and then I'm going to tie a knot. Now, I'm not really a sailor, so I can't tell you what's the best kind of knot, so I just tie it lots of times in the hope that my knot eventually works. Again, if you've got somebody else with you that is safe to do this, they can put their finger in here and it can help you tie. I don't, so I'm having to do this a little bit fiddly. Oh, there we go. And so I know it's not quite tight enough, so I'm going to wrap it around a couple more times. There we go. And I'm going to tie the knot again. Again, this is just simply because I haven't got an extra person to help me, but it will be fine in the long run. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is attempt, and I say attempt because sometimes I get it right and sometimes I don't. I'm going to cut some of this string off now and try and make a little handle. This can be helpful when trying to get your steam pudding out of the steamer at the end. So I'm going to carefully thread that through. There we go, it's coming through. So pull that through and you can see a little bit of a handle there. And I'm going to do that a couple of times. And take it back again. There we go. And then take this piece of string. Ooh, nearly there. There we go. And then that should be ready. If you think it's still a bit loose on the bowl, you can always take it round a couple more times. So when you think the string is nice and tight, you can trim off the little bit of extra tin foil just to keep it tidy. Oh, it's noisy stuff, this. There we go. I'm just going to pop that to one side. Pull that neatly down, and now your Christmas pudding's ready. And if you're very careful, you can use your string to lift it in and out of the steamer. Now it's time to steam it. It takes 8 hours, but believe me, it's worth it. So I'm going to pop this little baby here in the steamer for 8 hours, and then when it comes to Christmas Day, I'm going to then reheat it. If you've got time, reheat it in a steamer. It'll keep the moisture better. But of course, you can always use a microwave if you are short of time. Well, I hope you have enjoyed being with us today. Enjoy making your Christmas puddings, and may it bring you both comfort and joy this Christmas. And don't forget, there are lots more fun things happening with Bradford Cathedral this Christmas. If you go on our website or our social media pages, I think you'll be in for a very pleasant surprise. There are services, there are surprises, and of course our daily Bradvent calendar.